In today's video, we're going to talk about how designer brands are keeping you poor. Hi everyone, my name is Helen. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about how designer brands are keeping you poor. And you guys, if you like this kind of content, please do subscribe so that this channel is able to grow. When it comes to designer brands, the first thing that you have to keep in mind is that they are aiming for manufactured exclusivity. That means that they are trying to portray that you will go up in the social hierarchy if you buy their product. And this is particularly the case if you're looking at something like a high-end, very expensive designer brand that are very hard to get. For example, you're required to spend a lot of money in the store prior to even being approved to purchase the item. And then you aren't even able to choose the color, you're not able to choose the particular style that you want, you're just buying whatever they give to you. And in that particular case, they're trying to make it look like, oh, this is so exclusive, this is so rare, this is very difficult to get. And they're doing that on purpose. And that's one of the ways that they make you pay a very high price for a single item. So you could be paying thousands of dollars for a purse. And when you're doing that, clearly that's going to be keeping your finances in a pretty low state. You're not going to be growing your wealth if you're going out and buying these items that really don't have that kind of value in reality. The whole point of manufactured exclusivity is to try and portray yourself as being higher up in a social hierarchy when you're comparing yourself to friends, family, or other people in your social circle. The problem is that with modern social media, your social circle is bigger than it has ever been. And so trying to keep up with those brands is really causing a lot of financial strife for people. The second point that you have to keep in mind when it comes to designer brands in particular is that they are not targeting the wealthy. They are targeting people who are poor and middle class, because the designer brands already know the wealthy don't have anything to prove. I've talked about this in previous videos, but when it comes to people who are truly wealthy, they're not going out and buying super expensive designer brands. They generally have a very simple style. The reason is that they don't have to prove to anybody that they're wealthy. They know they're wealthy. So the designer brands, they're not targeting those type of people who are aiming for quality over brand name. They're targeting people who could potentially benefit from a brand name, which would be the poor and the middle class. Designer brands are looking for customers who want to look rich, but don't necessarily have the wealth to be rich. So you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at a designer brand. Who are they aiming for? They're not necessarily aiming for people who have the money to buy as many of their products as they want. They're instead aiming for people who are going to struggle to buy those products, because the people who are going to struggle to buy those products, they see it as a benefit to their social standing, regardless of how much it may put them in financial strife. The third point when it comes to designer brands and the ways that they keep you poor is that they keep you in a cycle of trying to keep up, trying to fit in, trying to continue to grow in such a way that you are staying poor, but the brand is getting wealthy. The thing that you have to keep in mind when it comes to these designer brands is that when they are targeting you, they're not being helpful to you. They're not really helping your social status. The thing you have to keep in mind is that in reality, every single person has someone who's above them in the social hierarchy. There's always going to be someone who's more wealthy. There's always going to be someone who has more. But if you think about it from that perspective, you get a little bit more content with what you have, because there's people who have more and there's people who have less. And if you focus on, oh, I want to have these products, rather than thinking, I want to have stability in my life, you're going to be setting yourself up for failure, not success. Chasing after the appearance of wealth is not going to help you in the long term. In fact, it's going to keep you poor. If you're chasing after the appearance of wealth, you're inevitably making your situation worse by spending more than you should. And in many cases, spending more than you should on credit. It's not helping your situation if you are spending without considering the potential ramifications of it. My fourth point when it comes to brand name and how they keep you poor is actually going to be the wastefulness of the brand itself. Now, brand named companies have been found to have a lot of problems when it comes to their products. In fact, there were a few scandals recently where companies had damaged their products while throwing it away so that those products could not be used. And by being so wasteful, the company is adding additional expenses on you as the consumer. They're wasting materials, they're wasting the labor that went into those, and those things still have to be paid for. But they're also throwing it out. They're not selling those products, they're not giving a discounted price on those products, they're literally damaging the product and throwing it away. When you look at that situation where a company is throwing out perfectly good products for no reason, and then you see that they're not only throwing it away, but also damaging the product so it cannot be used, then it brings up the question, how much of the price am I paying for these products coming from wastefulness on the company's part? And that's one of the ways that they're keeping you poor. They're adding costs to your products by being wasteful and throwing away items that don't need to be thrown away. My fifth point when it comes to how designer brands keep you poor is really just some basic advice on how you can avoid this situation. Now, the obvious thing to do is to avoid designer brands that you don't actually value. So if you're just buying a designer brand to chase clout and to keep up with the Joneses and just to get that impact on your family, friends, social media, to cause other people to feel jealous of you, you might want to reevaluate why you're buying those items in the first place. So buying an item to cause other people to think, oh, they're so much more wealthy than me, when you're not, is only being detrimental to your own stability. Rather than focusing on buying a brand name item, you should be focusing on building up your wealth, building up your stability, and making your life a little bit better in your day-to-day activities. So focus on enjoying your life, focus on your family, focus on the things that you value. And if it comes to products that you want to buy, there's nothing wrong with occasionally buying something that is a brand name if that item is valuable to you, if you value that particular item. But don't focus on the brand itself. Focus on whether or not you need those items, whether those items will add value to your life, or whether it's something that you particularly want and not something that you're getting just to show off to the rest of the world. If you liked today's video, please subscribe and I will see you in the next one.